Imagine being drafted into the NFL, alongside another player. You spend years working together trying to build something, and then your careers take two totally different paths. It's a pretty wild thought, right?
Definitely.
That's the story we're diving into today. Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, both drafted by the New York Giants and now on very different trajectories.
I mean, it's a pretty stark contrast, isn't it? Especially when you consider how their careers started.
It is.
Makes you wonder what factors led to these different outcomes.
Right. Was it just talent or something else?
Exactly.
Well, Barkley's first year with the Eagles has been incredible, so that makes the Giants' decision to release Jones even more interesting.
The timing is certainly interesting. Barkley's success shows us what he's capable of, but it also raises questions about the support Jones had with the Giants.
Makes you think, could a change of scenery unlock Jones's potential too? Barkley seems to think. So he responded to Jones's release really well, acknowledging the tough situation. But he highlighted Jones's work ethic and that he could totally have a fresh start with a new team.
It shows the respect they built during their time together.
For sure.
It's easy to forget they were drafted just a year apart, Barkley in 2018, and Jones in 2019, 5 seasons as teammates.
Wow.
They went through a lot together.
They did, and their journeys have been so different. Barkley's rookie season was amazing. They're done 307 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Jones had some good moments, but never that consistent.
And that early success probably shaped how people saw them, both with the team and the fans. Barkley set a high bar right away.
Right.
And Jones, as the quarterback, he faced more pressure to be consistently good.
I wonder how those expectations affected them and, put them on the path they're on now.
It's a good point. The quarterback position comes with so much pressure, so you have to wonder if the Giants system and the coaching really used Jones's strengths.
Right. And on the other hand, did Barkley benefit from a better offensive line in Philly, a system that worked for him?
Those are the key questions. You can't just look at individual stats. You have to look at the team, the coaching, the whole offensive strategy.
Right. For instance, did the Giants' offensive line give Jones the same protection that Barkley has in Philly? Did the play calling help Jones, or was he always having to make plays outside of his comfort zone? Those things could have really affected how they played and how valuable the team thought they were. And now both players are starting new chapters in 2024. Barkley's killing it with the Eagles, while Jones is looking for that same opportunity with a new team.
It makes you wonder if Jones might do better in a different environment, maybe with a team that better fits his style and, gives him the support he needs to do well.
It's possible. Think about quarterbacks like Rich Gannon or Steve Young. They didn't really reach their potential until later in their careers after they switched teams and found systems that worked for them. Could Jones be on that same path?
Interesting parallel.
It really highlights how important fit is not just talent, but also coaching, philosophy, team culture, and offensive scheme.
And it does.
And maybe that's what Barkley was getting at when he said he hoped Jones would find the same success he has with a fresh start. He knows how a change can revitalize a career.
Yeah, it speaks to their friendship, but also to understanding the challenges and opportunities that come with an NFL career. Sometimes a change is all it takes.
Sometimes it is. But the question is, what will that fresh start look like for Jones? What kind of team, what kind of system would be best for him?
To figure that out, we need to look past the basic stats and really break down Jones's game. What are his strengths? What does he do well?
And on the flip side, where does he struggle?
Exactly.
We need to look at his decision-making, his accuracy, how he reads defenses, and how he plays under pressure. Then we can start to see which teams might be a good fit for him.
I agree, and that's where it gets really interesting because Jones might not have had the best stats in New York, but there were times where he showed his talent and potential.
Totally. Remember that game against Tampa Bay in 2022? I do.
He threw for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Giants upset Tampa Bay. It was wild.
Great example. He also showed how mobile he is and tough he was with the Giants, often making plays with his legs when things broke down.
So even though his overall stats aren't the best, there are signs of a talented quarterback who just needs the right environment.
Exactly. We're not talking about a player who's washed up or doesn't have talent. We're talking about a quarterback with potential who hasn't found the right fit yet.
And who knows, maybe that fresh start, that change of scenery is all he needs to finally put it all together.
It's a real possibility, and it'll be fascinating to see how his career goes from here. Will he find that perfect situation that helps him thrive?
Only time will tell, but this is definitely a story worth following. Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, their journeys show us how complex NFL careers are, the importance of fit, and how unpredictable success can be in pro sport.
It really is a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected turns can lead to the best outcomes, and for Daniel Jones, that journey is just getting started. We'll be watching closely, and for our listeners, stay tuned as we keep digging into this story and the factors that might shape Jones's future in the NFL.
It reminds you that careers are rarely straightforward. Even in something like pro sports.
Right.
There are ups and downs, detours, unexpected turns. Sometimes what looks like a setback is actually a chance for something big.
And speaking of those crossroads,
Yeah.
what kind of team do you think would be good for Jones, given his skills?
Hmm.
If he's really getting a fresh start, how can he make the most of it?
That's where the real analysis starts. We need to look beyond the basic stats and really figure out what Jones brings as a quarterback.
Okay.
He's had some great moments, but being consistent has been a problem.
You mentioned that Tampa Bay game in 2022, where he had those 4 touchdowns. It was incredible.
Right.
But then there were other games where it seemed like he struggled with even simple reads.
Exactly. So was that inconsistency because of Jones himself, or was it the system he was in? Did the Giants coaching staff put him in a position to succeed? Did he have the right players around him?
And did the Giants' offensive line give him enough time to make those reads and actually execute plays? We know Saquon Barkley's had issues with offensive line support in the past.
Right.
Could that have been a factor for Jones, too?
It's definitely something to think about. A quarterback's performance is often tied to how well the offensive line is doing. If Jones was always under pressure, it would obviously affect his throws and his ability to read the defense.
So let's talk about what he does well. What are Jones's strengths that a new team could work with?
Well, he's definitely mobile. He can scramble and make plays with his legs when he needs to. And in today's NFL, that's super valuable.
And we've seen his arm talent, too, especially on those deep throws when he had time, the right reads. He could really throw the ball downfield.
Right. So a team with a strong offensive line and a system that uses play action and rollouts could really help him, give him time to see the field, let him make plays on the move, and let his arm talent really shine.
So you're saying a team that's willing to adjust their offense to fit Jones's skills instead of trying to force him into something that doesn't work for him.
Exactly. And that's why this next step is so important for him. Finding the right team, the right coach, the right system could change everything.
Like a puzzle piece, finding its spot.
Yeah.
You need all the right pieces to make it complete.
Perfect analogy. And while we can't predict the future, it's definitely possible that Jones could do great in a new environment that uses his strengths and gives him the support he needs.
Which brings us back to this idea of fresh starts. Both Barkley and Jones are kind of starting over at this point in their careers. It's a chance for them to prove people wrong and start a new chapter in their football stories.
And that's what makes these stories so interesting. It's not just about winning and losing. It's about the human side, the resilience, the fight to come back. It's something anyone who's ever faced a setback can relate.
We see it all the time in sports. A player struggles, they get traded, they end up in a new city, and suddenly their career takes off. Sometimes all it takes is a change of scenery, a new perspective to unlock their potential.
And for Daniel Jones, that potential is definitely still there.
This situation makes me wonder, is it more about the player adapting to the team or the team adapting to the player, or is it a mix of both?
That's a great question, and I think it gets to the core of what we're talking about. Ideally, it's a two-way street. The player needs to be willing to learn to grow, to adjust to a new system.
Right.
But the team also needs to see the player's strengths and weakness and create an environment where those strengths can shine.
So for Jones, it's not just about finding a team that needs a quarterback. It's about finding a team that believes in him, that's willing to build around his skills, and that's committed to helping him succeed.
Absolutely. It's about finding that perfect match of talent, opportunity, and coaching. And while it's impossible to know for sure, I think there's a good chance that Jones could still have a great future in the NFL.
It's a story that's not finished yet, and as fans, we're all excited to see what happens next for both Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones.
It's a good reminder that in sports, like in life, nothing is guaranteed. But with hard work, dedication, and some luck, anything is possible.
And sometimes a fresh start is all it takes to go from potential to greatness. We'll be watching closely to see how it all plays out.
Sometimes the best stories in sports aren't about the big wins or the records. It's about the individual journeys.
It's about how they handle the tough times, how dedicated they are, and how they keep trying to get better even when things aren't going their way.
And with Barkley and Jones, we're seeing two very different paths, but both of them teach us something about success and finding the right place to thrive.
Barkley's found that in Philadelphia. Can Jones find something similar? Can he reach his full potential?
We don't know for sure, but it's worth thinking about. It makes us think about coaching team culture and whether a player's skills match the...
It shows us that there's more to evaluating a player than just looking at stat. We need to look at the whole picture, the details of their position, and all the things that affect how they play.
And sometimes all a player needs is a change of scenery to really unlock what they can do. It's not always that they lack talent. Sometimes they just need the right opportunity, the right support, and the right environment.
It's like a seed needing the right soil, the right amount of sun and water to grow. Sometimes a player just needs to be moved to a different spot to really bloom.
That's a great way to put it. It shows how complex it is to develop players in the NFL. It's not a simple thing. It's a process with lots of moving parts, individual talent, and the environment that helps that talent grow.
So as we wrap up our conversation about Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, what's the main thing you want our listeners to take away from this? What's the most important?
I'd say it's the importance of not giving up, being able to adapt, and being open to new challenges. Both Barkley and Jones have faced tough times, but they kept working hard, looking for new opportunities, and trying to...
Their stories show us that careers don't always go in a straight line, and setbacks aren't the end of the road. Sometimes they lead to even bigger accomplishments.
And that might be the most inspiring part of their story. It's a reminder that even when we face obstacles, we can adapt, we can grow, and we can find our own way to success, whatever that looks like.
This has been a great conversation looking at NFL careers, how teams work together, and how the human spirit can overcome challenges and strive for greatness.
It's been great talking about this with you and our listeners.
Their journeys aren't over, and we'll be watching to see what happens in the coming seasons.
Goodbye, and see you in the next video.